there, guys. Okay, so I have an interesting zoo for you guys to see today. Someone on the comments below asked me for Landfall Zoo to show it, and I have in the past done Landfall Zoos with the Vine kazoos and really using Landfall. But one of the things that I found is my most successful Landfall Zoo I ever had actually had Scape Shift in. So I blended Scape Shift and like a little bit of mid-range Naya and as well as Zoo, of course, to make this sort of Landfall Zoo. So running quickly through it, you'll see that it's got some really weird choices for Zoo. Corsair Crufex is a #1 choice here. Really, when you're looking just to get out as much lands as quick as possible, while still being able to beat down and block from aggro, which this deck is weaker against, you really want to have Corsair out there. Corsair helps you gain life, which is kind of cool if you're in like against an aggro or mid-range matchup, but blocks for a while. It does really everything that you need to do. The big thing is it allows you to sort of do landfall while constantly being able to do landfall while simultaneously being able to attack. Now, some people might think Oracle of Dolmai or even what do you call it? The twins, I can't remember, the attackers from Oracles, I can't remember what their name is, but they're also 3 converted mana cost. But Oracle Dolmai costs 4, and that's a big problem in this deck. It doesn't actually do a turn 1 mana ramp. It does turn 3-ish mana ramps with Knight of the Valkyrie and Corsair. Although Corsair is not really a mana ramp, but you get what I'm saying. So this is the best dude available for what we're trying to do. It works in the Jund decks. It's not the best card in the world, but it works here. Kurt Ape, which is just Noctil 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8. And Step Links, which is really good in this deck, since we have so many fetches. So that's our beatdown troop is going to be the Kurt Ape, the Step Links, and the Wild Noctil. To round it out, we also have Plated Gidopede, which is really good as an aggro guy. Again, it's used in Boros sometimes. It hasn't been used so much lately, but it still is one of those better cards. Not as good as Step Links, and that's why it's only a 2-of, because I can only fit it in as a 2-of. But I thought if we're going to go for the landfall thing, we might as well get at least 6 landfall triggers here. Knight of the Valkyrie, again, is able to get landfall as well as Corsair. So you're looking at a lot of good stuff. Knight of the Valkyrie can get landfall and then even set you up for landfall with Corsair, since they get different ways of doing it. This pulls it out of your library, which can maybe shuffle your library into getting a land on top, and then you've got Corsair for it. To round it out, you've also got 2 Qasali Pride Mage. The Exalted is really important sometimes with these landfall zoos. Landfall is a great mechanic and can really make for some good aggro blasts, but Plated Gidopede is at the end of the day a 2-mana 1/1 first strike, and Step Links is a 1-mana 0/1 if there's nothing else happening. So Qasali Pride Mage helps a little bit there in order to make Step Links and Plated Gidopede hit a little harder. When you put down Qasali Pride Mage, even if it's only right after Step Links and you're only putting down like a basic forest, you're still hitting for 3 with the Step Links, which is the requirement in this kind of deck, is that you want to hit for 2 or 3 regardless right away. We have a bare minimum spell suite here. Lightning Bolt and Path to Exile. Why? Well, this is just basically to clear the road, not to finish off the opponent. Likewise, Chandra, since we're going to be doing a little bit more mana here, is better than Domri Raid and things because it clears the road more efficiently. Now, it doesn't actually kill the creatures, it kills occasionally some mana dorks, but what it does is it gives you some more gas, lets you play off the top of your library occasionally, but more importantly, the creature can't block this turn. That's actually more important in this deck than I think Jund, who runs Chandra occasionally. Now you'll see there's a bunch of lands here. We'll get to that in a second. The more important thing is that we've got 3 Scape Shift in the main board. Now, Scape Shift does a couple things. One, it allows Step Links and Plated Gidopede to hit for ridiculous amounts. There have been times where opponents will be tapped out because they got rid of like a Knight of the Valkyrie and they had to do it by like really going out of their way to kill the Knight of the Valkyrie, so they'll be tapped out and you have a Plated Gidopede and a Step Links out. And then you've got turn 4, you can put out a Scape Shift and sack all your lands, get more lands in there. You're triggering landfall 4 times. You can get fetch lands too, which is kind of cool, so that you can trigger it again next turn. But you get 4 landfalls, and that's going to trigger 4 times for the cat, making you have an 8-9, and this guy a 9-10. So it's a little cray-cray. And you can just end the game with that. But if you wanted to end the game on a special note, you can come out of nowhere and kill them with Valakut. That's the secret of the deck. SCAPE-Shift isn't a combo win. You're not in like SCAPE-Shift, the deck that's actually named after. You are gaining up to that momentum where you cast SCAPE-Shift and they can't do anything and you kill the crap out of them. SCAPE-Shift isn't like that. SCAPE-Shift is a 4 mana, 10 damage burn spell. You can just randomly win the game, but unlike SCAPE-Shift, where they try to get you to like 18-ish with like a bolt and then they finish you off, we can get you down to 4 and then finish you off. If you've got 4 mountains in play and you have 6 lands, you might only need to SCAPE-Shift for 2. You know, once you get that, once you get the Valakut down there, you can then just burn them out naturally with actually mountains. Obviously, you do more than that. You do as much as you can. But they're at a lower life total, and you can just win out of nowhere when they tap out to Wrath of God your field. Because the difference between SCAPE-Shift, which actually uses counters to protect its combo, is we protect our combo by being aggressive as hell. If we're aggressive as hell, they got to deal with the creatures that are on the board. Once they deal with those creatures on the board, if you have a SCAPE-Shift, you win the game. It's like they're tapped out, there's nothing they can really do. It's catch-22. They're either dead by creatures or they're dead by our lands. This is one of the only zoos I've actually seen ever to get Path to Exiled and be like, cool, I love getting Path to Exiled. The higher mana you have, the more stuff you can put out there, like Corsair of Night, which just eventually gets you to the SCAPE-Shift, thins out your deck, and once you SCAPE-Shift or even Chandra, you could really win the game. The sideboard is pretty obvious here. There's not like too much craziness. 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 4 Leyline of Sanctity to cover a lot of my groundwork. Again, I generally put a lot of 4-ofs in my sideboard if it's basically a glaring hole in my plan and I need to just do a quick cover. There might be better options than the ones I'm showing you here. Sideboard is just something I add to the side for games 2 and 3 for you guys. Rule of Law, Combust, Bajuka Bog, Bajuja, Who Shelters All. That's basically what you side in versus control matchups to really get that SCAPE-Shift win out there because you might be in a grind for a while. Another SCAPE-Shift that you can side in against control or combo or tempo, basically mid-range, anything that slows you down. I only could fit 3 in the main board, but if you are going to have a grindy game, or you're expecting it to get more grindy, then you're going to want to use SCAPE-Shift. 2 Shatterstorm because the affinity matchup's not good, and 1 Sowing Salt just against Tron as a random one-of. Again, you could just randomly beat Tron too with SCAPE-Shift as well. Overall, it's a really, really strong deck. If you want to surprise your meta in just coming out of nowhere, if you have a mid-range Naya Zoo or even a small zoo, you have access to most of these cards probably. I think I have all of them. Yeah, I have all of them. So the only thing you need to do is sort of like make your mana base a little bit weird. Sure, you've got fetches, and again, this is not a deck for budget at all. But the big thing that you're doing is you'll notice that there's no Temple Gardens. It's 4 Sacred Foundries, 4 Stomping Grounds, and a mountain, as well as a plains and a forest. You're getting your basics covered. You're a functional Naya deck, but you want to use your flex slots for Valakut. You want to make sure Valakut has stuff to trigger. You remember the magic number for your deck is less than the actual magic number for SCAPE-Shift. Magic number in your deck is 9. You only have 9 mountains in this deck, which means once you get past your initial red that you need, and bear in mind, there's nothing in this deck that uses a ton of red. The only card that uses 2 red in this deck is Chandra Pyromancer. So once you get past your initial red, and maybe another red if you have a Chandra Pyromancer, you're going to want to crack for basics. You might get pathed, and you might not have something to grab afterwards, but you're going to want to grab the forest first, then the plains, then you can grab whatever else you feel like you need. But it's just important to be able to conserve your mountain total. Just remember how many you have in your deck, how many you have in the library, how many you have in the graveyard currently. And remember, with some other random stuff you can do in this deck, SCAPE-Shift doesn't necessarily have to be a way to kill them with the Valakut out. If you have a Valakut out, you can Knight of the Reliquary. 1, you can Knight of the Reliquary for Valakut. to get Valakut out there and then Scapeshift if you need to, or just Valakut and then Valakut for bolts, just actual value for Valakut. You can also Path to Exile your dudes if you ever need to grab a mountain and do a quick 3 damage off of Valakut. Remember, Valakut can deal damage to target creature as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into a game if there's something here. I don't want to do... Alright, let's try this again. I keep getting places where I escape shift and people won't play game 2 because they get really upset about it. But I will keep this. This allows me to get a turn 1 4 damage in if he doesn't do anything about it. Likewise, I'm still going to be able to get a 3/3 wild Noctowl. Mutavault into a Ether Vial, into nothing. Into a nothing. I'm going to put Wild Noctowl out here, and we're going to swing for 4 and pass the turn. I have Path to Exile, which can be used out of nowhere to make sure I get a Corsair out there, or recovery from beating down with Noctowl if I need to, or make some damage happen. I think this will come into play not tapped. And I will swing for 5. Seems fine. Get ourselves out of basic forest. Landfall does trigger when you Path to Exile my dude. And pass the turn. Alright, we're looking at pretty good here. We can now do a Corsair. Did hit for 4 twice with the step links, which is always a good thing to do. We are going to tap like so and put out Corsair. See if we can grab a fetch land off the top or something. He can counter it if he'd like. I guess he's just conceding the game. Sure. So, he had a Path to Exile. What does that mean? He's probably control deck. We might just want to leave it as this then. Just get some early aggression in quick with the Plated Genipedes. I don't think there's anything I really need to side in against control. Maybe this guy. Maybe Jua. And maybe side out the Horizon Canopy. So that way I have access to an uncounterable Scape Shift if I really needed it. I think that's probably better. I mean, I can't fetch the Horizon Canopy anyways. It's just specialty lands that can be picked up with Knight of the Reliquary. He's probably bringing in things like Anger the Gods, which is fine. This is not going to work out. I just don't have enough mana, and I'm a pretty mana-greedy deck. That's not going to work out either. But he mulliganed as well. I guess we'll keep this, since we're going second. It's pretty bad, I'm going to be honest with you. We're probably just going to lose now. Weirdly enough, not really getting any mana that we need to. Okay, so he's a Merfolk deck is what he is. And that's fine. I like Merfolk decks. Pass the turn. If he puts out a Lord, like just follows it right away with the Lord, we're kind of screwed. But that Mutavault means that Lord's not going to happen. Spreading Seas, we're just going to go ahead and concede this game. He might be siding in something to counteract something. As such, I'm going to side out the Corsair. Kira Glass Spinner. I don't want to see one of those things, so I'm going to keep this hand. There's Combust in there, which is good against Kira Glass whatever Spinner. We're just going to get aggressive. We have 2 Path to Exiles to do some combat tricks. I like to hold Path to Exiles against the Merfolk deck. Against 2 when they least expect it on combat phase, when they're going to block with their lords. Drawing another path is not actually a bad thing here. So, I'll crack this. In fact, I will actually take the damage off of it. I don't mind. Why don't I mind? Because I probably will use it next turn. Probably gonna use it on his turn. I mean, I gotta keep my paths open here. Gotta keep all the paths open. Well, actually, let's yeah, let's do this. No, let's do it this way. Let's get a path, plains, so that way we can double path if we need to. But Knight of the Rokiri is who we're getting out next turn. Knight of the Rokiri with path. Mana open. Show me what you got, boy. Show me a Merfolk. Okay. Lord of Atlantis is fine. So, he does not have mana. I don't want to necessarily speed him into mana. But I don't necessarily want to pretend like I'm happy. Let's go ahead and tap the plains. Let's not let him know I don't have a Volt in hand. This is in fact a 3/3. We get some fetch lands and make our guy huge. I think that's probably the play next turn rather than attacking. Although I guess we could just attack here. I mean, we could just attack and have him block with the Silver Gill, maybe, and then path his Lord of Atlantis. I think that's a better play, to be honest with you. Oh, if he's just gonna straight up attack, then in that case, we're just gonna path the Lord now. We're gonna block actually this way. Seems good. Escape shift actually not bad here. Not bad at all. I wonder if I want to just leave my knight open. I don't know if I do. I think I want to attack with it because I want to make him down to 18 so that way I can eventually win the escape shift if I have to. And I will cast out another Knight of the Rokiri. Pass the turn. So escape shift, if we get another 3, 2, even, yeah, 2, we win the game. Tidebender's not really bothering me. If he puts down like a Lord of Atlantis again, I won't mind. I'll just attack and path his Lord as he blocks. Not a huge deal. I think I'll just straight up attack, see if he decides to block with his Tidebender. And then path his Master. That's how it works, man. That's how you do these tricks. truth is, he's gonna. He thinks maybe he's got a Master of Waves. And he doesn't really care. Let's see. It says I don't untap at the controller's phase. Yeah, so that's fine. And then we're gonna put down a Corsair. Reveal the top, which is a Bajuja. Bajuja. We're gonna pass the turn. I think this means we have lethal. Because we have 5, and then I can path my own knight. So I think this means we have lethal. I'm gonna be honest with you. Don't concede the game. I really just want to win with the escape shift. Sure. I can poke it with the path, so I don't care. So I have a Scalding Tarn that I can play from hand, and that's definitely going to get played. Gonna get cracked, maybe? Maybe not? I'm trying to think. If I sack my planes here, what does that do? Let's see. I mean, I've got lethal. I'm just trying to make sure that I am doing this right. Let's see. I can grab the mountain because again, I'm not trained in escape shift, so I can grab the Valakut with escape shift, sacrificing one thing. I sacrifice. How many lands do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I need to have at least one more land in play for this to work out, which it can do. In fact, I will do. It means that I'm going to need to do some weird attacking, but yeah, let's do that. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna let him block with his Lord if he wants. Damage. We're gonna go ahead and path my Nether Oakworry. View library. Get ourselves out a forest here. Put into play tapped. Gain a life. Then we are going to go ahead and pay some mana for an uncounterable escape shift. We are going to sack some lands here. That is what we're doing. Thanks. See ya. Got that rage quit. But that's how the deck works. It just randomly wins like that. Now, I definitely was in control of that matchup regardless. I definitely could have just pumped knights, attacked, win the game probably in 2 turns. Or I could just win with escape shift right away. So that seemed fine too. We got 3 games in though. That's really, really good. And that's how the deck works. Definitely comment, like if you have any questions about the deck. Subscribe if you want to see more zoo stuff and some more random stuff. This is just some random brews I put together. I like zoo, I like Naya aggro, but I also can throw in some weird scape shift and zoos sometimes. Next thing I might be trying out is working on trying to make the elemental aggro deck a little bit better, the one that uses Nymphagus combo. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and remember, feed your animals.
So you never wanted a regular type life. The fuck is that? Barbecues and ball games?